Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of The Function of Criticism by T.S. Eliot. Eliot published Traditional Individual Talent. Middleton Murray challenged the opinions of Eliot in his essay Romanticism and the Tradition. And this essay, The Function of Criticism, is Eliot's reply to Murray. The first part gives the opinions expressed by Eliot in Traditional Individual Talent, and in the second part, he gives the views of Middleton Murray, and it is in the third part the views of Murray are dismissed, and in the concluding fourth part, he examines the function of criticism. Eliot in Traditional Individual Talent had pointed out that there is an intimate relationship between the present and the past in the world of literature. The entire literature of Europe from Homer down to the present day forms a single literary tradition, and it is in relation to this tradition that individual writers and individual works of art have their significance. This is so because the past is not dead but lives in the present. The past is altered by the present and the present is directed by the past. Past works of literature form an ideal order, but this ideal order is disturbed when a really new work of art appears. There is a readjustment of values resulting in conformity between the old and the new. Literary tradition is constantly changing and growing dynamically from age to age. This literary tradition is the outside authority to which an artist in the present must owe allegiance. He must constantly surrender and sacrifice himself in order to have meaning and significance. The true artists of any time form an ideal community. An artist in the present must achieve a sense of his community. He must realize that artists of all time are united together by a common cause and a common inheritance. While a second-rate artist assists his individuality because his distinction lies in the difference and not in similarity to others, the true artist tries to conform. He alone can afford to collaborate, to exchange, to contribute. Eliot defines criticism as the commentation and exposition of works of art by means of written words. Criticism can never be an autotelic activity because criticism is always about something. Art, as critics like Matthew Arnold point out, may have some other ends, example moral, religious, cultural, but art need not be aware of these ends. Rather, it performs its functions better by being indifferent to such ends. But criticism always has one and only one definite end, and that end is elucidation of works of art and the correction of taste. Critics, instead of trying to discipline their personal prejudices and whims and cooperating in the common pursuit of true judgment, express extreme views and vehemently assert their individuality. They are like orators competing with each other to attract as large audience as possible. Such critics are worthless. Eliot established the aim and methods of criticism which should be followed by all. In the second part of the essay, Eliot digresses into Middleton Murray's views on classicism and romanticism. Murray says that one cannot be a classic and a romantic at the same time. Eliot praises Murray, but he disagrees when he says that the genius of the French is classic and that of the English is romantic. Murray further relates Catholicism in religion with classicism in literature, for both believe in tradition, in discipline, in obedience to an objective authority outside the individual. On the contrary, Romanticism and Protestantism and social liberalism are related, for they have full faith in the inner voice, in the individual, and obey not outside authority. They care for no rules and tradition. In Eliot's opinion, the difference between classicism and romanticism is the difference between the complete and the fragmentary, the adult and the immature, the orderly and the chaotic. To him, the concept of the inner voice sounds remarkably like doing what one likes. It is a sign of indiscipline leading to vanity, fear, and lust. He disagrees with the view that the English as a nation are romantics and so humorous and nonconformist, while the French are naturally classic. In the third part of the essay, Eliot dismisses the views of Murray. He contemptuously calls the inner voice viguerie. For those who believe in the inner voice, criticism is of no value at all, because the function of criticism is to discover some common principles for achieving perfection in art. Those who believe in the inner voice do not care for perfection in art, which can result only through obedience to the laws of art and to tradition, which represents the accumulated wisdom and experience of ages. In the fourth part, Eliot comments upon the term critical and creative. He ridicules Matthew Arnold for having distinguished bluntly between the critical and the creative activity. Eliot further expresses the view that the criticism employed by a writer on his own work is the most vital and the highest kind of criticism. Eliot calls such criticism workshop criticism. Eliot says that some creative writers are superior to others because their critical faculty is superior. He comments to conform to tradition and make their work free from defects. Creative criticism is neither criticism nor creation. Creation, a work of art, it has no conscious aims and objectives. Criticism is aimed to the commendation and appreciation of works of art. An ideal critic must have a highly developed sense of fact. There is a large part of criticism which seeks to interpret an author and his work, but most of such interpretation is false and misleading. A true critic knows the fact about a work of art, its conditionings, its settings, its genesis, and puts them before his readers in a simple and easy manner. Comparison and analysis are the chief tools of a critic. Comparison analysis can be possible only when the critic knows the facts about the work of art, technical elements like its structure, content, and theme. Facts cannot corrupt taste, while impressionistic criticism like that of Coleridge and Cotte is always misleading. The function of criticism is to educate taste or to promote enjoyment and understanding of literature. Critics like Goethe or Coleridge, who supply opinion or fancy, are the real corruptors. Fact hunting is not criticism. Eliot's critical stand is with such new critics as F.R. Lewis and I.A. Richards. He comments textual criticism, but he is against the lemon squeezer school of critics who try to squeeze every drop of meaning out of the words. A critic should concentrate on the text, compare and analyze, but he should never stoop to trivialities or empty hair splitting. A good critic is objective, his judgment is based on facts, he is guided by tradition, the accumulated wisdom of ages, and not by his inner voice. The critic should approach the work of art with a free mind, unprejudiced by any theories or preconceived notions. Only then can he be completely objective and impersonal. Eliot's views on the nature and functions of criticism are: the function of criticism is the erudition of works of art and the correction of taste. A critic must place the facts of a work of art before his readers, point out the good in it, and thus promote enjoyment and understanding of literature. To discover the nature of poetry and the process of poetic creation, to preserve the living literary traditions and reveal the good in them, to judge works of art by sound literary principles whose value have been tried and established, to turn the attention of the reader from the poet to his poetry. Comparison and analysis are the chief tools which the critic uses to perform his function. He must therefore know what to analyze and compare. Sound scholarship is necessary for a critic. A good critic must have a sense of fact, for opinion and fancy corrupt, but facts cannot corrupt. The critic must know all the facts about a work of art and not merely about the artist and place them before the readers. He must not judge on the basis of his personal feelings or emotions, but he must judge on the basis of solid facts revealed by a close study of the work concerned. A critic must have knowledge of other subjects like history, sociology, philosophy, and others, but he must not take care of his criticism does not become a mere commentary on these subjects. Secondly, criticism must not be merely impressionistic, it must be based on sound facts. But this knowledge of facts too must not be carried too far. Exaggerated importance attached to scholarship vitiates criticism, as it does in the case of J.L. Love's book, The Road to Xanadu. Both Arnold and Coleridge are imperfect critics. The one is too impressionistic and the other is too dry and intellectual. Eliot holds out Aristotle as an outstanding example of a perfect critic. According to Eliot, the right type of criticism is the workshop criticism, that is, the criticism of a poet of his own poetry and that of others. But even this criticism has its own limitation, and Eliot is fully conscious of them. While Eliot stresses the close study of a poem for the purpose of elucidation and interpretation, he is against the lemon squeezer school of criticism, those who analyze a poem stanza by stanza, line by line, and extract, squeeze, tease, and press every drop of meaning out of it. A good critic must avoid extremes of this kind. According to Eliot, the qualifications of a perfect critic are sensitiveness, reduction, sense of fact, sense of history, and generalizing power. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box, like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support. Thank you.